Boker Tov, everyone. Welcome to our Barina service. We have a lot going on today, so we are going to zoom through Pesukei de Zimra to leave room for all the goodness that comes with Hanukkah. We are not in the best version of Hanukkah this year, as much as I would love to say so. And what is the best version of Hanukkah? It's when the stars align and we have a few things that happen all at once. Right now, we have two special days right now, Hanukkah and Shabbat, which means we would have the option, if we wanted to, of reading two different Torah readings. And if we were in one of those magic years, we would have Hanukkah, Shabbat, and the first day of the new month. There are only three possible times when you can need three Torah scrolls. So we'll roll the dice, see if next year we get there. We'll begin our service with Ma Tovu on page 74. Ma tovu haleka Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Vani berov chastecha vovetecha, Eshtachavel hecha kodshecha behiratecha. Adonai ahavti me'on vetecha kol mishkan kivodecha. Vani eshtakavev ekra evrecha lifnei Adonai hosi. Back to Matovu. Matovu haleka Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Nisim B'chol Yom, Miracles of Everyday Life, page 75, the middle of the page. Some have the tradition of standing for these. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sakvivina lehavchin ben yom uben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzarei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten leyaev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavir sheina meinai utnuma me'apapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. 77. V'harev na Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu. Baruch atah Adonai hamlamed Torah le'mo Yisrael. Reading Aleph at the bottom of the page in the gray box, said Rabbi Yitzchak, two things are in God's hands, the soul and justice. The soul, as it is written in Job, and God's hand is every living soul. Asher biyado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol basar ish. Justice, as it is written, my hand lays hold on judgment in Deuteronomy. Says the Holy One, you watch out for justice, and I'll watch over your souls. We continue with Pesukei de Zimra, verses of psalms and songs to awaken us to prayer in the new day, on page 79. Before we continue, just a quick word about our services this morning. This is a different style of service than we often have at Touro Synagogue. And if this is new to you, an invitation. Page numbers aren't demands, they're options. Explore the prayer book. Close your eyes, wander. Much of this service this morning is chanted with moments of silence in between. That too is an invitation to read the Hebrew or to read the English or to continue praying at your own pace. And we'll continue to announce page numbers as we go and guide folks who want to be exactly where I am, but there are lots of Jewish modes of prayer where we all take our own time, and some moments strike us each a little bit differently and are worth lingering on or exploring around. So we'll continue with Pesukei de Zimra, page 79. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo, V'haya Olam, Baruch Oseh Bereshit, Baruch Omer Ve'oseh, Baruch Ozer Umkayem, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu. Middle of the page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el rachaman hamluah b'fi amo. Yachid chei ha'olamim melech meshubach u'poradei ad shemo hagadol. Baruch atah Adonai melech mehulal batishbachot. 80. Mizmor shir liyom ha'shabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tzadik ata ma'ifrach ke'erez ba'levanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim verananim yehiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai Zuri velo havlatavo. 85. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, el bekocho, hallelujah, bekiyahozo, hallelujah, bigvorotav, hallelujah, kerov gudlo, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, beteka sopar. Hallelujah, benevel vechinor. Hallelujah, betopel makol. Hallelujah, beminim be'ugav. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, betzilzele shama. Hallelujah, betzilzele truha. Kohan shama te hallelujah. Kohan shama te hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. 87. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. 88. Shochen had marom vekadosh shemo. Vekatuv rananu tzadikim baronai, laisharim navate hilah, befi yesharim titalav, divrei tzadikim titbarach, uvilshon chasidim titromam, uvkerev keroshim titkadash, uvmakalot revevot, amcha beit Yisrael, Brina yitpar shimcha makenu bechol dor vador. Shekein chovat kol tzurim lefanech Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elokei avotenu ve'imotenu lehodot lehalel leshabeach lefael leromem lehadel levarech le'alel kales al kol divrei shirot v'tishbachot David ben Yishai avdecha meshichecha. Please rise. Yishtabach Shimcha Lahad Malkeinu. Berachot behorahot me'ata ve'ad olam Baruch atah Adonai El melech gadol batishbachot El hahodahot Adonai niflahot Habocher b'shirei zimra Melech elchei haolamim Yitkadah v'yitkadah shemei rabah Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chaychoni v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Bagala, bagala, ubizman karib, vehimeru, amen. Yehesh merhaba mevarach, lehalamu me'amaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadav, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha, brichu, le'lamin kol birchata v'shirata, Tush bekata v'nechemata damiran behama vehimeru amen. 91, reading Bet. Baruch Hu is our call to prayer, but what is it exactly that calls us? What moves us? What touches our hearts? What inspires us to answer that call? One of my favorite poets writes, praise the rain, the mist, the curl of plant, praise the hurt, the stand of trees, the dignity. Praise the dark, praise the day, praise crazy, praise sad. Praise the path on which we're led. Praise beginnings, praise the end. Praise the song, and praise the rain. Holding on to all these things that move us and shake us and call us, the happy, the sad, the unknown, the beautiful, that which forms the core of our humanity. We begin formal prayer with Baruch Hu, page 92. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach L'olam Vaed. You may be seated. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer hor u'varech choshech oseh shalom u'varech et hakol. Skipping the middle words of some of the stanzas at the top. En kerkecha ve'en zulatecha efes biltecha umidom elach. En kerkecha ve'en zulatecha efes biltecha umidom elach. En kerkecha ba'olam hazeh ve'en zulatecha lekai olam haba. Efes biltecha limot hamashiach ve'en dome lecha litchiyat hakol. El Adon al kol hamasim baruch umborach befi kol neshama. Godlo v'tuvo malei olam dahatut v'una sovev himoto. Hamid kahel chayot hakodesh v'nedar bekavod amekava zechut umishor lifnei chiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei chvodo tovim mehorot shebara Eloheinu yitzar ham bedat bevina ufaskel koach ugvura natan bahem liot moshlim bekerev tevel meleim ziv umpikim noga nahezivam beko haolam semechim betzetam betzahasim bevoam osim behemaratzon konam behevechavod notnim lishmot zolaverina lezecher malchuto kara lashemesh vayizrach orah vehitkin surat havana shevach notnim lo kol tzeva marom Tiferet u'gedula Srafim ve'ofanim ve'chayot hakodesh. The bottom of 95. Orchad hashal Tzion tahir, Orchad hashal Tzion tahir, V'nizkech ulanu mehera leoro, Mehera leoro. Baruch Adonai Yotzer HaMehorot. 96. Avar habavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem lagidol avitera Chamalta leinu Avinu Malkeinu Bahavu avotenu shebatku veka Avinu Malkeinu Vatilamdehu kechayim kentekonenu tlamdenu Avinu avarachaman Amrachem rachem aleinu V'tein belibenu lehavin ulhaskil lishmoa lilmod ulamed lishmoa velasot Ukayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ava Be'ha'erenenu בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך ולא נבוש ולעולם ועד ולא נבוש לעולם ועד כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך ויחדך באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Many have the tradition of rising for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Ezra, will you come up and lead the hafta for us? I know, we just started bar mitzvah training. Now I get to strong arm you now that we're working every week for your bar mitzvah. Come on up.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם ושיבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently, 98 and 99. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. ויציב ונכון וקיים וישר ונאמן ואהוב וחביב ונחמד ונעים ונורא והדיר ומתוקן ומקובל וטוב ויפה. הדבר הזה עלינו לעולם ועד. עזרת אבותינו אמותינו אתה הוא מעולם. Mi Chamocha on 101 is our prayer that acts like a sponge. Our prayer of freedom is the one that we use to capture the essence of the season. And we call that the Nigun de Yoma, the theme song of the season. And right now in the midst of Hanukkah, we have one official one, but I'm going to start with something else. Tehilot le'el elyon, Baruch hu umborach, Moshe u'Miriam, uvnei Yisrael, Lechanu shira, besimcha rabah, ve'ameru kulam, mi chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha, nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot, Hosef eleh, Nora tehilot, Hosef eleh. Shira Kadasha, Shivchu Gehulim, Leshimcha Sifatayam, Yachad Kulam Hodu Vehim Lichu Ve'ameru. Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Vahed. Please rise. Sur Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Uvdeknu Mecha Yehuda veYisrael, Gohaleinu Adonai Tzvahot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gahal Yisrael. Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, "Prayer is our humble answer to the inconceivable surprise of living." 104, the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufia kitehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagipor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi geula lifnei v'nehem, leman shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer Moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham bezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol, atah rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morhid haGashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al givurot, Umido melech, melech meimid umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'neheman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. 106. Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto bishmei marom, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, Vekarazel ve'amar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Melocho haaretz kevodo. Az bekorash gadol atir v'chazak mashmim ko mitnasim leumat serafim leumatam baruch yomeru baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo mimkomcha malkeinu tofia v'timloch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב וימינו לעולם בעת תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. בינינו תירנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, נצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We'll continue with the Amidah silently through page 115. Just a note that we do have a seasonal insertion that can be found for those who wish on page 184 in the middle of Modim, but we'll sing part of that at the end of the Amidah together. You may be seated whenever you wish. You're welcome to continue davening at your own pace. We're going to sing on 184, and apologies for the Hebrew that decided to break mid-word, and will be fixed to the next edition of this pilot Siddur. Al hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavotenu bayamim ha'em bazman hazeh. Al hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavotenu bayamim ha'em bazman hazeh. Al hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavotenu bayamim ha'em bazman hazeh. Al hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagburot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. We continue with Hallel, the psalms that we save for those most festive days. And they can be found on 162 and will be led by Ben Horowitz. Just one quick note about Hallel, on Hanukkah in particular. Hanukkah is an abnormal holiday that has always been, in all times and places, 8 days. There are no other holidays in Jewish tradition that match that exactly, but there is one holiday that universally in the time of Hanukkah was 8 days, one holiday exactly, and that was Sukkot. It happens to be the last holiday we had, and it explains some of the origin of Hanukkah for those who are skeptical of miraculous oil. What's the first thing you do when you finally have your place to pray again after it had been defiled and destroyed and taken over? You celebrate the last holiday you missed. You find that last joyful holiday that you couldn't celebrate because the temple was being repurposed by the Greeks. And so Hanukkah happens, and what's the last big festive time? It was Sukkot, which feels like an eternity ago, a little over 2 months ago. And that is the only holiday at the time that was 8 days long. And so Hanukkah, in many ways, follows the patterns of Sukkot, and in my household includes limoncello made from etrogs. And it just happens to take about the time from Sukkot to Hanukkah for that flavor to be extracted. So Ben will lead us in Hallel on page 162, and then we'll make our way to the Torah service after that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher k'shayim v'tzadav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Avdei Adonai. Hallelujah. Et Shem Adonai. Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. Me'ata ve'ad olam. Mimizrach Shem esod nevo. Mehelu Shem Adonai. Ram al kol goyim Adonai al hashamayim kevodo. Mikadonai Eloheinu Hag Magbil HaShevet Hamashpili Lirot Bashamayim Uvaretz Mikimi Me'afardal Meshbot Yarim Evyon Leo Shivi Im Nedivim Im Ninive Amo Moshivi Akeret Habayit Eim Abanis Mecha Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Na 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 ya da 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 ya na 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 ya da 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 ya na 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 ya da 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 ya na 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da da ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. B'zeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez Hayta Yehuda lekodsho Yisrael Mam sholosav hayam ra veyanos haryada yisole achor heharim rachadu chelim givot kivnetam malecha hayam kitanus har yarden yisole leachor heharim tichru chelim givot Kivnetam milifne Adon chuli aretz milifne Elohai Yaakov Hahovchi chatzor agamayim Chalamish lamanu mayim. Page 165. Adonai Zachranu Yevarech. Yevarech et Beit Yisrael, Yevarech et Beit Aharon, Yevarech Yirei Adonai, Haktanim im Hagdalim, Yosef Adonai Alechem, Alechem ve'avnechem, Beruchim atem l'Adonai, Osei shamayim ve'aretz, hashamayim shamayim l'Adonai, ve'haretz natan libnei Adam, lo amiktim ya hallelujah, ve'lo kol yudei duma, v'anachnu nevarech ya, me'ata ve'ad olam, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah. L'cha es besefach toda, v'shem Adonai yakra, nidorai l'Adonai shalem, negadan nalachol amo, v'chasros beis Adonai, v'tosechi Yerushalayim, hallelujah. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chaso. Hey, hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chaso. Yomar na Yisrael, ki le'olam chaso. Hey, hodu l'Adonai ki tov, Ki le'olam chaso, Yomru na Beit Aharon, Ki le'olam chaso, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, Ki le'olam chaso, Yomru na Yirei Adonai, Ki le'olam chaso, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto. Min hamitzar karatia, anani v'merchavia. Min hamitzar karatia, anani v'merchavia. Anani, 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 v'merchavia. Anani, 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 v'merchavia. Ozi bezimratia, vayahi liyeshua. Ozi bezimratia, vayahi liyeshua. Ozi bezimratia, vayahi liyeshua. Ozi bezimratia, All right, we'll try one more Hanukkah tune. To Hanukkah, O Hanukkah. Pitchu li sharet tzedek, avov amodeya. Pitchu li sharet tzedek, avov amodeya. Ze hashar ladonai, tzadikim yavahu bo. Ze hashar ladonai, tzadikim yavahu bo. Odecha ki ani tani, vati li lishua. Odecha ki ani tani, vati li Yeshua. Even me'asu habanim, hayta lerosh pina. Even me'asu habanim, hayta lerosh pina. Mi'et Adonai hayta hazot, hi niflat b'einenu. Mi'et Adonai hayta hazot, hi niflat b'einenu. Ze hayom asa Adonai, nagila v'nismecha bo. Ze hayom asa Adonai, nagila v'nismecha bo. Ana Adonai Oshiana. Ana Adonai Oshiana. Ana Adonai Hatzlichana. Ana Adonai Hatzlichana. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto. Hey, hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto. Ki lecha tov, l'odol l'shimcha na'eh, l'zamir ki me'olam, v'yad olam ata'el. Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Mechalel, B'tishbachah.
Before we turn to the liturgy of Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for reading the Torah, I'd like to invite forward Bill Prosell, who's been, we've studied a little bit together, but he's done the lion's share of studying on his own of our Haftarah. Haftarah is the reading paired with each Torah portion that dates back to a time when Torah reading was outlawed 2,000 years ago. And so each Haftarah captures a little bit of what, even if it's just a word or a name, but often more of what is happening in the Torah reading. They come from prophets, and we don't read it sequentially, and so many of us are not nearly as acquainted with these stories and the Zitz and Laban, the situation in life of these prophets. They span hundreds of years, and they're not telling stories. They're giving sermons. They're giving speeches. And so it takes a moment to orient ourselves to what the prophets are, who the prophets are in any given week. When are they? What was happening at the time? And it takes a good bit of work to get up to speed. It's not just reading last week's Torah portion and calling it a day. So Bill has been studying up, working hard on Devar Torah, all about this. This is one of the better Haftarah portions. I mean, as a clergyman, they're all equally good. All words of the Bible are equally good, but this is a really good one. So thank you, Bill.
Thanks for the setup. So this week's Haftarah portion, or Haftarah, is from Zechariah. It is from 2:14 to 4:7. So what's going on at this time is in 586 BCE, and the temple was destroyed and the Israelites were exiled to Babylon. Now, I don't know what it's like for you, but for me, every time there's a BCE behind the number, I cannot do any calculations anymore. I lose all the basics of math, just like the Sewerage and Water Board when it rains. So I'll just say a generation later. The Persians conquered Babylon and encouraged the exiles to return back to their homelands and to pursue a limited self-rule, which included their native laws and religious practices. Zechariah was a prophet during this time, and when he returned from exile, what exactly was the situation that was going on? Well, the country was destitute, there was no temple, there was no government, and there was animosity among the Israelites who had returned from Babylon and the Israelites that remained behind. So there was a bit of a conflict going on here. The initial rebuild of the temple was stalled because of the differences between the societal leaders and the people that had been left back in Israel. In order to complete this project, there was a need to motivate the people and to unite them. I don't know if anyone here has ever tried to unite a bunch of Jews into having one opinion on one project. No, never happened. So what's the goal and the response to this conflict? Well, Zechariah's goal was his passion to inspire and give hope to the Jews, like any politician, in order to accomplish his agenda, which was to restore Jewish life the way it was before the Babylonian exile, which included the temple. So how did he go about this? So he wrote words of our Haftorah. He was trying to convey an importance of rebuilding the temple to both the common people and the elites. And so the Haftarah starts at 2:14 with, forgive my Hebrew, please. Rani ve'simki bat Zion, ki haniniva ve'shakanti be'tokek. Shout for joy, for Zion, for lo, I come to dwell in your midst. Now, this is in high contrast to what the shouting was going on the ground. He starts out with shout for joy, but there's a lot of shouting going on, but it was because of the conflict between the competing factions. He also uses the phrase to dwell in your midst. That's referring the building of the Mishkan in Exodus. And in this era of Israelite beliefs, God was not necessarily an omnipresent entity, but required a physical place to exist on this earth. So this drove home the message of let's stop quarreling and let's get to the quarry, or God will not be able to protect us and in this exile. So his message was, we need a temple people. And so why would the people listen to Zechariah after all? Well, he had these visions from God, direct line. So Zechariah provides vivid imagery through his visions that illustrate Zechariah's ideas for a future for Israel. And there's a bit of a format with these visions too, which I find very, very interesting. Have you ever read a passage of the Tanakh and you look over it and you say, what are they talking about? What does that mean? So it usually starts with the angel showing something to Zechariah or telling him something, and Zechariah says, angel, what does this mean? And the angel says, you mean you don't know what this means? And Zechariah says, yeah, I just told you I don't know what this means. And so then the angel explains it. And so I think this is a very good device for explaining or trying to get its message over to both the well-educated people and the common man as well. So in 3:10, Zechariah writes about life after the building of the temple. And in it he says, Bayom hahu zebaot tikikru ish le'ra'ehu el takat gefen ve'el takat ha'ena. In that day, you will be inviting each other to the shade of vines and fig trees. And this promotes that if you rebuild the temple, there will be prosperity for everybody. Even the farmers and shepherds will have autonomy and not to be subject to the kings or the elites. Multitasking or micromanagement. And 4:1, the angel comes back to Zechariah and awakens him for a final vision. So Zechariah sees this menorah of pure gold. Imagine that, a large, brilliant, shimmering menorah of pure gold. And it's got these elaborate pipings that come down from these bowls. And there are these robust olive trees on either side of the bowls. And so the oil just goes straight into the bowls, down through the pipes, and into the menorah. And the only thing that's missing for that is a spark, a match to light this up. And if you can just imagine that with the flickering of all of these, the menorah on the hammered gold, just the shimmering, is just how beautiful that would be. kind of like the Hanukkah when we have all 9 candles blaze in the dark. So Zechariah's writings are kind of like a glossy brochure for something like, I don't know, like a capital campaign. So, no, really. And so in these brochures, you know, you have a lot of pictures in there, and there's a lot of renderings, and this makes the project look to be more real, more desirable, and more doable, and maybe even exciting and inspiring. So just by looking at the brochure or listening to these visions, you're drawn in through your emotion. And so you become part of this program, you come on board with this program, and all of this is done with this imagery, so there's no pressure, no shaming, and no strong arming. And then in 4:6 is one of the most powerful and famous lines in an already rich Haftarah. And it reads, Lo bekayil velo bekoach ki im beruki, not by power, not by might, but by my spirit. And it's one of those statements that has a poetic beauty to it that can detract us in what it means. So you would say, like Zechariah says, well, what does this mean? So Zechariah is explaining that, yes, we're divided about this project, but my might or your power will not win the argument. Only if we work together that will this be accomplished. But there's another part of this that the rabbis explained, and that's that God had influenced Darius, who is the king of Persia at that time, to finance the building of the temple so that the farmers won't have to pay, or the shepherds won't have to pay more taxes, and neither will the wealthy. And they do this through that dreaded thing called tax reallocation. And so then the Haftarah ends in 4:7 with a resounding shout of Ken Ken Lav, which means beautiful, beautiful, just as the foundation stone is set for the rebuilding of the temple. And that brings us back to Hanukkah on the other end of this temple building with the lighting of the menorah and the rededication of the temple. So shout for joy, fair Zion, for lo, I come to dwell in your midst. How beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
I'd like to invite those who are under the age of bar mitzvah to come on up and join us with the hakafah. But that said, for those who are closer to bar mitzvah, we'll have something a little bigger than plush Torahs for you. We're on page 118. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai ve'ein k'maasecha malchutecha malchut kol amim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam v'ed Adonai hoz le'amo yitein Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom Avhar